Hello everybody, Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero here, and the sun just went down over the hill, but it is still warm. It is 85 degrees where I am. After the sun went down, it still feels humid. There is still a layer of haze that I can see up in the sky. You do have some clearing, but there's still this like milky color in there, and that milkiness is the haze that I was mentioning. Air quality alerts are still in effect until 11 p.m. tonight, and it's not necessarily from the Canadian wildfire smoke. That's a small part of it. However, most of it is ground ozone. So that comes from high pressure. With high pressure, we have something called subsidence, which is why storms don't develop in high pressure systems. Essentially a sinking motion in the atmosphere. That sinking motion brings what's up in the atmosphere down. And that's where we're getting this ground ozone, which is a pollutant. So that's what causes the air quality. Like in New York City, it was about 161, the air quality index. Not to the level of a couple of years ago, where we saw the orange skies. But still not good. Anything over 100 is unhealthy, not just for certain groups, but just unhealthy for a lot more people. Getting up 161, it's not necessarily the best air quality for really anybody, especially those with sensitive lungs or any kind of respiratory issues. Even though it's a pretty nice night, it's not very comfortable to sit outside, so let's head back into the studio and I'll show you a little bit more. All right, so back in the studio now, where it's little bit more comfortable and air conditioned. Let's take a quick peek at what's going on and what's going to come up over the next couple of days with this heat and the air quality. All right, so on the National Weather Service page here for OKX, quite a big area of the air quality alerts, and this is where it's going to be until 11 p.m. this evening. So most areas, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. was the warning or the alert for this with the air quality. Again, this is not necessarily just the smoke from the Canadian wildfires. That's also a little bit with the ozone just being stagnant air and the subsidence and the sinking motion coming down. This can be a little bit alleviated going into tomorrow and into the weekend, because tomorrow, here's a little teaser, we do have some severe weather to talk about. There is a slight risk going into New England. When we take a look at the Storm Prediction Center for the Day 2 outlook, there's a slight risk out there, so there is a chance for some severe weather. There's also a bigger slight risk in the southern part of the U.S., and that's where there could be quite the widespread severe outbreak tomorrow there. Now, going back into today, just for a little recap of what's going on right now, slight risk a little bit more west, going into Pennsylvania, New York, right around the Great Lakes there, but also this double-barreled enhanced risk we're seeing, which is causing quite the action right now. Right, so then tomorrow, we're going to see, again, that slight risk. So we'll get to that in just a little bit, but first, quick peek here on the satellite. We're seeing some higher clouds forming along this line right there, and that's where the slight risk is, and that's where there's some action right now. But here on the satellite, you're really seeing this well-defined boundary there, and all these storms really starting to fire up, and basically it looks like some of these have overshooting tops on there. Hits the tropopause, the top of the weather part of the atmosphere, overshoots and kind of spreads out, or it doesn't necessarily overshoot, but it hits there and just spreads out. So there's some quite a bit of action going on there. On the radar, we do see also these storms popping up here, and the storms popping up in the Pennsylvania, New York area. So here on this radar, we are seeing severe thunderstorm watch, severe thunderstorm warnings happening, and this particular one right here It actually looks like a bow echo forming, so there's quite a strong wind happening there in the center versus the edges. That's what creates the bow shape, like an archery bow, not necessarily like a bow tie. But there could be some issues going on there. So if you're anywhere in this area, I would keep one of those NOAA weather radios ready to go and your emergency kit just in case anything happens. So that's here. Going out a little bit more, back to where we saw that double barrel enhanced risk. There's 2 tornado watches that we're seeing. And let's see anything there. Maybe a little bit happening. That could be the forming of a hook echo. Not really well defined, but it's in the tornado watch zone. There's rotation along some of these. Going down here, there is a tornado warning that is right in here. And this is Lubbock, it looks like. Lubbock is the main town around there, so I'm not too familiar with this area. But if you recognize this area and you're in here, I would take shelter pretty much right now. Even if this uploads a little bit later after this, I would still keep an eye out through the night for severe weather potentials. So that's what's happening right now. Then going into tomorrow, we're going to see on the tropical tidbits here with the GFS, it looks like it's not easy to see on the GFS because it's not high resolution, but there's a little bit of clearing in the morning, and then we see some more showery action and maybe some severe potential. This spot right there is where the slight risk is, so that could be some severe weather popping up. And then going into the overnight hours into Saturday morning, still some rain happening there. That clears out. Then for Sunday, it looks like not too bad of a day for the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I'm going to jump here now to the 3-kilometer NAM, which is now one of the highest resolution forecast models here. And this is showing, going into the overnight hours tonight, anything that was out there may have some pulses start and dissipate. And then tomorrow morning, pretty clear, but then more north, this is where the slight risk is. So the first part of the day tomorrow, New England could see some severe weather. Then the second half of the day, we might see a little bit more popcorn kind of style thunderstorms appearing because there is still that marginal risk going through the New York City area. So that's something to keep in mind going into tomorrow. And then this really comes up for Saturday. So there could be some thunderstorms in there, but also just periods of rain. But if you look at that spine along there, that's pretty much where the cold front is. That's where most likely the action is going to be for the storms. Then that clears out, and behind that, usually with the low pressure and the counterclockwise rotation, a little bit cooler with the temperatures there. But also, this brings in some clear air. So for Sunday, not too bad of a day. And on the MOS data, we'll just take a quick peek here. And it looks like we're Friday. So this is islip, which is also right along the water, so it should be cooler. 80, 76, 74. So cooling down quite a bit going to Sunday and Monday. 73, 70, and then spikes back up at the end of the week. 80, 81. But these couple of days here, we will talk about in future videos. This is really just through the weekend with this air quality and severe weather outlook. But it looks like warm. Now going into one of the warmer spots, Newark. So 86, 82, 77. So there's your cooling trend still. 78, and then stabilizes a little bit until later on in the week. Then going up a little bit more north here, Albany. So it looks like we're seeing 80, 78, 79. So warm still until about Sunday, where it cools down after that. Because remember, we're a bit more north now, so that's where the cold front will take its time to get there. So the cooling trend may not be for Sunday. It'll go a little bit more into Monday. And then Boston going a bit more east now. This is kind of where we're seeing 74, 73, 72, 67. So still warm, and then it cools down gradually going through Sunday, and then Monday should be a little bit more cooler. Climo data for Boston shows 76, and this I would say is pretty much right on the money there. And one of the warmer spots we saw was Newark. So Climo says 80, So we're above, above, below, 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 above, above. So kind of a balance that we're seeing there. All right. So that's a wrap for this weather video. Again, we're not going to see anything orange, even, well, I guess except maybe a drink. In honor of that orange day, here is the Canadian sunset. Here's everybody. But air quality alerts will still be a thing. Severe weather chances for tomorrow and going into Saturday. Clears out a little bit for Monday. It'll be an unsettled start to the week. And then later on in the week, it might clear out a little bit more and get more summer-like. If you want to get the latest weather forecast for later in the week, definitely hit that subscribe button below and the little bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload videos like this or I go live. Last little bit here. Head to my link, bettersaferadio.com. They have radios like this that will give you NOAA weather radios, the forecast pre-programmed into it. So let me tune to that right now.
70 at Kennedy, 86 at Newark, and 77 at White Plains.
It'll give you forecasts. It'll give you live temperature or live weather data. And these radios, you don't have to find the frequency. It's pre-programmed in there, which is nice from Mark at bettersaferadio.com. And also, I think he's running some discounts right now. And he has a new version of this, even though this is a really, really good handheld radio. There's a new version of it, so if you want that, check it out. I'll show you very quickly here. Here's the site, bettersaferadio.com. You're showing some featured radios. Here's that new one, the UV9PX Plus, UV9GX Plus GMRS. So this is the one I have, but this is the previous generation of this. So if you're interested in these, but maybe something not as expensive, you can go down. They have some less expensive ones. So like this one, pre-tariff stock pricing here, sales $69 for a GMRS radio that's going to have all the emergency frequencies pre-programmed into there. So feel free to check this out and use my affiliate link below if you want to get an emergency communication radio that's pre-programmed with everything you need. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Stay safe out there. Keep an eye to the sky. Cheers, and I will see you all in the next video.